podcast, right? And I'm a real person. You know how Pinocchio used to say, I'm a real boy, like that. Well, I'm a real woman, right? And my family has been touched by this particular illness. And I know, now let me add this in here too. I know back in the days they didn't understand it. So everything was a demon back in the days. Everything was demonic. But we also realize that sometimes there are imbalances, and epilepsy, it's a neurological disorder where the electrodes, right, in the brain, which, because it's like electricity that kind of tells, it's messages, it's signals that says, okay, arm move, finger move, eyeballs blink, and some things we don't even have to think to do, like we breathe. Our brain is saying, keep breathing, just breathe. You didn't have to say, let me breathe, let me take a breath, let me breathe. We don't have to do that. Right? The brain is doing its job. But what happens when it's almost like an electric storm, a lightning storm takes place? Now, we know when we see lightning storms, right, it changes the atmosphere, right? When we see a big old lightning storm happening, some of us go and close the blinds and run and whatever, but it changes the whole atmosphere when that strike of lightning, just goes just right in the sky. Think about that happening in someone's brain. We have a normal level of electricity, where our neurons and the synapses are working together to make everything happen in the body. It's working succinctly, it's doing what it's supposed to do. But when there's a disruption, when there's too much electricity, when it's too much heightened activity, that can cause a seizure. And picture an electrical storm happening in someone's brain where there are different, zaps of this electricity, this it's increased electricity. It's not the normal level, and it's almost like it's a shutdown because it's too much for the brain to handle, right? So that's what happens. And it's almost like a shutdown. So all of this, you just see the person moving, having a seizure, or you see the person when it's an absence seizure staring straight ahead like they're daydreaming. The only difference is with a daydream, you can say, hey, come on out. Hey, so-and-so, right? And the person will come back. Snap. Oh, all right. I was thinking about something real hard, or whatever it was. It's different with a seizure. You can call them, but they cannot just snap out of it. That electrical storm that's taking place inside of their brain has caused a disruption with their communication. And so, yes, I was saying for some people, because right now it's our brain that's saying, don't empty your bladder. Wait till you get to the bathroom. It's our brain telling our kidney, wait, hold on till you get to the bathroom. When there's a seizure, there's a disruption, right? And so that person is not able to think at that moment. They're not thinking, forget about thinking clearly. There's a disconnection that's happening with the communication in other parts of their body. And so they may become incontinent. What does incontinent mean? It means that you are losing your bladder. You lose your bladder. You're not able to hold it anymore. That happens to some people, like when we are pregnant and different things like that. We almost become incontinent. We can't hold it in, right? But this is different. There's a disruption. The brain, the signal that is saying don't do that, is disrupted. And so, yes, some people become incontinent. And think about, if you're a person, I'm talking to you, who has laughed at somebody who has been incontinent when they've had a seizure, and you laughed at them. Have you ever peed on yourself? Seriously, not when you were a baby, okay? Have you ever done that? Have you ever laughed so hard until you leaked urine? If you have, did you think that was funny? Let's not think about that. Have you ever been sick and you pooped on yourself? Okay, this is the episodes, right? I'm not even trying to be funny. I'm saying this because I want people to start to think and to be compassionate to this community of people who are braver than I can imagine to have to go through this. Anyone who's suffering with a chronic illness. I have a friend who's got a page on Crohn's disease, right? If you have Crohn's disease or someone you know, that can be a very lonely place for that individual. And so, yes, they need community. Oh my goodness. What's the name of her page on Facebook? Crohn's disease and chronic illness. I feel like that's what it is, but her name is Melody Blackwell. So you can look that up because people need to be supported and not ostracized, not laughed at, not made fun of, or all of those things. And listen, if you did it and you didn't understand and you know someone, hey, you can apologize. You got a mouth. You can go up. No one's too big to ever apologize. I would say go and apologize to that person. And you can tell them, I was listening to this lady on, Spreaker on this podcast called Epilepsy Episodes, Unapologetically Purple. And man, I didn't know you went through that, or I didn't understand the whole thing about the electric storm. I don't like lightning. You like lightning? Do you run outside when you see lightning going forth? We're like, we give respect, right? We're like, oh no, but we can't control that lightning from happening. We might say, Lord, please don't let, the storm come. Don't let it be so bad, or cover and protect us. But with epilepsy, that person can't control that storm either. It comes when it wants to, and it affects people's lives in ways that they probably never thought was going to happen. People with epilepsy who used to be able to drive are not able to drive anymore. And some of us have seen in the news where people have had seizures and they have crashed cars, hit trees, lampposts, whatever it is. It's not that they did it on purpose. And I know sometimes people can be very, what's the word? Empathetic, non-sympathetic when it comes to certain diseases. But then there are others, people would say, oh my goodness, that person is suffering with cancer, and they'll rally around them, right? Oh, they have high blood pressure or diabetes. And for me, I pray that the people will be healed all around. That's my prayer, that they'll be healed. But when it comes to certain diseases that affect the brain, people can be quite merciless, right? Without mercy. Because the fact that it affects the brain, sometimes that person is not in control. Mental illness is another one where some people are not merciful. Oh, did you see how they were acting? Oh, did you see them laughing like that? Well, there's an imbalance there. That person cannot control that. They need help and they need sympathy. They don't need someone laughing at them when they can't control that. That's one of the worst. That's a bully. Right? Maybe some people are proud to be bullies, but that's a bully. And if you did it, don't stop listening. I want you to get as much information as you possibly can, because knowledge is power. And maybe you didn't know that it was this serious, right? But it's very, very serious. So serious that there was an actor, and it saddened us dearly, who lost his life from a seizure, from epilepsy. So sad. I really want to reach out to his parents. His name, Cameron Boyce, I want to say it was. He was on Jesse and all of those things. And I remember that day when he passed, and, all I knew was I needed to get to my daughter, before she went on her little phone or got on the computer and was looking at whatever and, heard from computer. I had to talk to her about it. I was like, baby girl, come sit down. Mommy needs to talk to you. And I wanted to let her know, I get it. Sometimes his family had not heard that there was such as a thing called SUDEP, right? And so there is such a thing called SUDEP. And if you have not heard of it, I want you to speak to, and you have epilepsy or someone in your family, I want you to talk to them about it, right? Sudden unexpected death in epilepsy patients is what it's called. Who was the other woman? There was a famous runner. Was it Flojo? It might have been Flojo. Forgive me if I'm wrong, but I believe her also in her sleep from epilepsy. There are celebrities who have on social media that they have the disease as well. Danny Glover is one. Prince had epilepsy. And as a child, he was bullied because of it. Do you bully people who have epilepsy? Does your child, can you speak to your child about it so that hopefully they won't bully a child with epilepsy and instead will try to learn about what they can do to help or how they can be an encouragement to this child who is brave? That's the word I'm using. My daughter's book is coming out. It's called Brave. My daughter, and I can give her name because it's on the book. Her name is Diamond. And so she's going to be on. And I know some people are like, is that the same Diamond that met Oprah? Yes. But she wanted to meet her. She got to meet her. Okay. And thank goodness, Make-A-Wish made that dream happen for her. But at the same time, people need to be made aware. Celebrities need to be made aware of what to do, what to say to a child with epilepsy. I'm going to talk about all of that too, because they don't need to be embarrassed. They need to be lifted up. They need to be encouraged. They need to be embraced, and all of that. And so for those of you who might be saying, well, I don't like Oprah, listen, a child sometimes, whatever it is, listen, Oprah's done a lot for people. My thing that I love about her is the whole poverty thing. I love stories of people who go from poverty to prosperity, from poverty, and they push past it and they follow their dream. So that's the biggest lesson that was taught to my child. And so, what about you? What's your story? What do you have to share? Are you someone who's dealt with epilepsy? Are you someone who knows someone who has epilepsy? What I want to say to you, if you're a relative, a parent, a husband, a wife, a teacher, a preacher, I don't care, what it is, learn about it if you know someone who has it. And even if you don't. Why did I say that? Because I'm saying that because I learned the 911, Epilepsy 101, what to do when you see someone having a seizure. And I remember my daughter and I were walking in the community by a particular restaurant, pretty well-known restaurant. And we were crossing the street, and as we were crossing, we saw a group of people around someone who was on the ground, right in front of this restaurant on the ground. And I looked and I automatically said, this little boy, he was about 10 years old, is having a seizure, right? And so I'm so glad, when I walked over, the people were crowded just looking. His mother looked like she was in total disbelief. And so I went over and the first thing I looked at her and I said, does he, have, she said, he had a seizure when he was a little baby, or something like that. He was a toddler, but he doesn't have epilepsy. And I said, all right. And I put him on his side. That's the first thing you do. You put them on their side, you cushion their head so that just in case their head is moving up and down so that they don't hit their head on the ground. You put something under their head, you turn them to the side. If they have on a tie or something that could be, tight around their neck, you loosen that. And someone times that seizure. If it's out in the street, you definitely want to call 911 anyway, right? If it's someone who's never had a seizure before, you need to call 911. Put them on their side. Do not restrict them. Don't try to hold them. Let me try to stop you. I know we think that helps, but it really doesn't. We need to just watch. We need to time that seizure. Once again, we put them on their side. Of course, we speak to the person. You look for a bracelet. Do they have a medical bracelet on? And if you have epilepsy, and excuse me, you're not, like my daughter's with me practically all the time. And so for her, we didn't get a bracelet because she's with mommy. But if you are in school, your child's in school, they have so many cute bracelets out there. What's Lauren's? Oh gosh, I'm going to come back on and I'll talk about it, but it's Lauren something. She's got some really cute bracelets. No, I know you don't want people to have to look at it, but it could help, especially if you're out there by yourself in the street, in the community, and no one knows that you have it. And regretfully, if you do have a seizure, it's better for someone to just look and your information or whoever your emergency contact is can be right on the inside of that bracelet. And so this is our first talk. All right. I hope it wasn't too bad for you. I'm not trying to make it be difficult or anything, but the truth has to be told. This is nothing that we want to skate or skirt around because so many people, I'm on the pages and groups with the epilepsy. I'm on one group on Facebook. One is parents of children with epilepsy. I'm on another one that's what's the other one called? I can't even think of it, but there's a host of them that are on there. And I hear and I see how the parents, the caregivers, they just need to be encouraged. Sometimes you can be in a setting where the parent will be totally forgotten. People, when my daughter had her first one, I was so glad that the radiologist